Today we have Thomas St. James, and he has kindly sent in a video of one of his DJ mixes. And we're going to take a look at a couple of those mixes and provide some feedback and practical tips to help him with his DJing. And if you're a beginner DJ at home, hopefully these tips and feedback will help you with your DJing too. If you want to send in one of your DJ mixes for a chance to get a free review just like this one, then check out the link in the description of the video. Now, if you're new to this channel, you might be wondering why listen to me. My name is Jack and I've been a professional international DJ for over 15 years. I started DJing at the age of 16 in my bedroom and then got my own DJ setup and DJed at family and friends parties, which then led to me DJing all around the world in places such as clubs, bars, boat parties, pool parties and festivals. I have also been teaching people how to DJ since 2018 through my online DJ courses, which have now taught over 20,000 students how to DJ. Alright, now with that being said, let's get into the mix review and have a look at some of these mixes. Alright, let's get started with the first mix. Alright, we're going to watch this first mix all the way through and then I'll give some pointers afterwards. Alright, not a bad first attempt, but there are definitely some things that we can help with there and give some tips on. So let's go back to the start of the mix and let's look through. Alright, so now the first thing is we set a 4-beat loop at the start of the track, which is fine. That's actually a good way to mix a track in if you want to make sure you get your timing right, which I'll show you later how to do in a minute after this. But one thing I did notice is they press play at the wrong time. Instead of pressing play at the start of a new phrase, they press play, I think it was 4 beats after the phrase starts. But because they have a 4-beat loop set up, that actually is fine. It can still keep in time with the track. Now, I'm not sure if that was deliberate or intentional, if they knew that pressing it 4 beats later would still work because of the 4-beat loop, but we'll find out in later mixes if that's true or not. But just a quick point there that they pressed it 4 beats too late, and I'll count us in on that one now and you'll see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Right, I should press play here. So as you can hear then, it's 4 beats after the phrase starts. But like I said, because it's a 4-beat loop, that's fine. But if there's anything different, like an 8-beat loop or a 16-beat loop, or you're just pressing play at this point, it wouldn't be timed correctly. So that's just one thing we've got to take note of there. Want to try and make sure we're pressing play on the track at the start of a phrase, generally to keep the timing right. Alright, now with the low EQ dial going down, brilliant. I always recommend doing a bass swap and switching the basses and only having one low frequency dial up at a time. This is because the low frequencies have the most energy and power in a track. This is why we have subwoofers in clubs, and when you can only hear the low frequencies when you go to places like the toilet through the walls, or if you have next door neighbours who are having a party, you can only hear them low frequencies, them sub frequencies coming through the walls. They're the only ones strong enough to get through, and these are the ones that we don't really want clashing and will cause the most problems in our DJ mix. That is why when first starting out, I recommend DJs only use the low EQ dials, and this touch here on the mid dial is, for me, doesn't actually do much. It's only very slight, so it's not actually going to be that audible. It's just giving you an extra thing to do that's going to make it a little bit harder for you to DJ. The audience aren't really going to hear that little tweak on the mid dial, especially with these bass heavy tracks with genres such as hip hop and R&B. It's really these low frequencies that we want to control the most. Alright, now it's the same with the trim dial at the top, so the trim controls the overall volume of the track. Now, generally, in this day and age now with these modern day tracks, most tracks are produced at a similar volume. There's a thing called LUFS in music production, which is basically a value on how you perceive the volume of a track, and most producers get it to around a similar LUF value, which basically means most tracks are produced at a similar volume level, so changing the trim dial on a track isn't that necessary, especially when first starting out. Alright, now I just want to mention that little tweak on the frequency dial as well. Again, for me, I just think this is unnecessary, alright? So what's happening here is he's turned the frequency dial to the left-hand side slightly, which is the low-pass filter, which basically means it cuts some of the high frequencies out of the track, which doesn't make sense in this scenario. So if you turn the frequency dial to the left-hand side, it takes out some of the high frequencies, but yet the high frequency dial is still at 12 o'clock and we've reduced the mids. So basically what we've done here is reduce all the frequencies to some degree. The mid frequency dial is turned down slightly, the low is turned down completely, and then we're removing some of the high frequencies with the filter dial, which doesn't make sense because we have the high frequency dial up. So all these little minor tweaks, in my opinion, are just a bit unnecessary, especially when you're doing the same thing for all of them. Generally, what I teach my students in my courses is that the EQ dials are there to create separation. If you're not separating frequencies a lot, you're not really using the equalizer dials effectively. If you want to control the overall volume of a track, that's what these channel faders are for. So the best way to do this is what I say is to remove the low frequencies completely and keep the mids and the highs just pointing up at 12 o'clock and control them with the channel fader. At the end of the day, all these are just volume controls. You just control the volume of the different frequencies. And if you have the same frequencies pointing in the same direction, you're effectively just turning the whole track down. So if you have the mids turned down slightly and the highs turned down slightly, they're completely ineffective because they're there to create separation. You might as well just keep them up at 12 o'clock, both of these, and use the channel fader. Alright, so you can see then just turning the filter dial back to 12 o'clock, there's no audible difference there. It's not going to make that much difference, so you might as well just leave it at 12 o'clock. Same with changing the mid frequency dials then, there's no real difference that you can hear. And there we've done the bass swap. That's great. I'm not sure if the timing was right on that, but the bass swap is good. That's what we kind of want to do. Only one low frequency at a time. So one thing I do want to note there in the mixes, apart from all the EQ changing and the filter dials, which I'll get onto in a bit of what I would do, let's just listen to the actual timing of the track. For me, one of the main things with this mix is we're just getting the loop going a little bit too long. This is a common mistake that I see a lot of beginner DJs make, and I've seen in previous videos when I've done of these mix reviews, is people having two loops going at the same time. It doesn't really make sense to me. Generally when you want to DJ, you want to keep at least one track's timing along with the 32-beat structure. And having two loops going at the same time will often throw it out of that 32-beat structure. So I'm just going to have a listen to that bit again. Just listen to how many times it sounds quite repetitive. And this is going to throw the audience off a little bit because they're expecting a change and the change doesn't come. Alright, so for me there, the loop just went on a little bit too long, and this little bit of scratching at the end also isn't too necessary. I'm not sure if the vocal coming in on the next track caught you off guard a little bit, so you felt like you just had to compensate and scratch it out. But generally you want the other track to be finished before the next track's vocals begin. Alright, now with all that being said, let's dive into my DJ software and have a look what I would personally do in this scenario. Alright, so we've got the same two tracks here, the one on the left, BBO, and the one on the right, Like You. Now, I'm not familiar with these two tracks, I've not heard them before personally, but I should be able to provide some value on how I would mix these tracks because I am familiar with the hip hop and R&B genre. So it's just at this point here on the track on the left where he mixed out. So just here.
Bad bitches only, bad bitches on me, bad bitches only, bad bitches on me.
So it's just there where they set the loop. Right, now that I do believe is the end of the chorus. Alright, so where the next verse starts. Now generally I like to mix out at the end of a chorus before the next verse starts, because that's where the audience expect to change, and it's just a nice transition point.
Bad bitches on me, bad bitches on me. Hit her for a minute, then I pass her to.
Alright, so just there before that verse starts, I'm going to set a hot cue. So this is where I want to be mixed out by. I'm going to color this one blue just because I like setting my hot cues to mix out with as blue. And then what we're going to do from here is go to beat jump and beat jump back 32 beats. So you can just see the value here. We're going to go back 32 beats, change it back to hot cue, and then set another hot cue here. This one here is going to be our timing hot cue. This basically just lets me know to start doing my mix and then to be mixed out by hot cue D, and I have 32 beats to transition between the two tracks. Also, generally with hip hop and R&B, the choruses of tracks are usually 32 beats long as well. So if we just have a listen to just before hot cue C.
Maybach seat with the shears, AP shifting gears. AP on me iced out, tennis chains iced out.
So that I do believe is the start of the chorus. You can tell this because usually choruses repeat themselves throughout the tracks. Let's listen to them first lyrics again.
AP on me iced out, tennis chains iced.
All right, let me see if I can find another point that sounds exactly the same.
The stars again. AP on me iced out, tennis chains iced out.
There we go. So that would be another chorus. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to mix out at this point. So now we have the track that we're going to mix out of already set up with our hot cues ready. Let's have a listen to the start of the track on the right hand side. All right, so there's no lyrics here. There's no vocals. But we have some drums and some bass line and melody. All right, and then the vocals just come in here. So what I'm going to do is just set a hot cue just here. This is where we want to be completely into this track. So ideally we want hot cue D, which is the second hot cue, which is where the verse just about starts on this track, to be here. And we want the end of our mix to line up like this. Now there are multiple different ways that we can get this timing, but what I'm going to do for the purpose of this video is use a 4-beat loop, just like Thomas St. James did in the video. So let's take it back to the start of the track. Now I think that is also because it's used in Serato DJ Lite, so you can't use any loops longer than 8 beats, I don't think. Now this is one reason why I don't personally like to recommend using Serato DJ Lite, because even though it's a beginner DJ software, I do believe it makes things a little bit harder to learn to DJ because it removes some of the features and functions that you actually need to DJ effectively. So it actually makes learning how to DJ harder. So I'm not sure how that works. So for me personally, I would normally set a 16-beat loop here. Let this run twice through the mix and then exit it when it gets to hot cue B on the second time. But we don't have 16 beats to play with. So I'm just going to set a 4-beat loop, save that in the hot cue bank as well. And what I'm going to do is let that loop run and mix with it. Then when I see hot cue B line up with hot cue D, like this, on the far right hand side of my DJ software, I'm then going to exit the loop and then do my mix. And you should see that it's timed right then. And for the purpose of this, I'm just going to set BeatSync on both tracks. I'm a big user of BeatSync. I've done videos on why I use BeatSync and why I think it's great. But if you want to manually beat match yourself, go for it. That is not the purpose of this video and this feedback. All right, so if I was to do the mix, it would look something like this.
Maybach seat with the shears, AP shifting gears. AP on me iced out, tennis chains iced out. Whole pointers round my neck, looking like a lighthouse. Little nigga pipe down, chopper make it pipe down. Running man, catch me if you can. Bad bitches only, bad bitches on me. Bad bitches on me, bad bitches on me. Bad bitches only, bad bitches on me. Bad bitches on me, bitches on me, bitches on me, bitches on me.
I ain't never had nobody show me all the things that you want.
All right, now for me, that one just moves a little bit smoother, going from one track to the other. There's no repetitive loop in there, so it gets to the mix a little bit faster. And if you're familiar with the tracks as well, the loop might throw people off. Now, looping a track several times and then bringing the next track in at full volume is a good DJ tactic. I actually did one of my most recent videos on that, on how to disrupt the dance floor and then bring the next track in. But most of the time, I would say around 90% of the time or more, you want to do smooth transitions from one track into the next. Now you would also notice that I only used the low EQ dials to do my transition. Makes things a lot simpler. The audience are not going to notice the minor tweaks to the mid dials or to the filter dial either. And I just made sure that I ride these channel faders just nice and smoothly and adjust my volume accordingly with them. I also like to put a little bit of echo at the end of my transitions too, just to fade out the track that I'm mixing out of and let it fade out into silence into the next track. So for me personally, that is how I'd mix those two tracks. Now let's take a look at the next mix. Just before we take a look at the next mix, this here is my online DJ course. So we're actually in the back end of the DJ course here of exactly what you would get if you signed up. And just here at the hip hop and R&B mixing technique section, I'm just going to open this up. And I just want to mention, if you do want to learn how to mix just like I'm doing in this video, you can see here the different videos I have. We got videos such as mixing out of a track early, the one phrase system, which includes how I set my hot cues and how I put them 32 beats apart and how I apply that to all my tracks. And also videos such as mixing with the intro of an original version of a track, which is exactly what we're doing now. The tracks that Thomas St. James are using are the original versions of tracks. And also, if we just scroll down a little bit more here, we've even got videos such as mixing in with loops, which is another technique that we're doing now as well in this video. So if you are interested in learning everything that I know about DJing and all the techniques that I use when I DJ live, feel free to check out my online DJ course just here in the link below this video. All right, what I'm going to do is let the mix play out fully, then I'll go back to the start of it again and I'll talk you through a few of my pointers. And then after that, I'll show you exactly what I would do in my DJ software.
Never had nobody show me all the things that you done show me in a special way. I feel when you hold me, we gon' always be together, baby. That's what you told me, and I believe it. 'Cause I ain't never had nobody do me like you.
And every time I think about you, when you ride, when you call, when you come out, your love is amazing to me. I can't wait till I see you. I wanna be with you again. And every time you're out on the road, I'll make a trip. And whenever I'm doing a show, don't you forget that I'm your main chick. Who got the game chick? One and the same chick, the one you can hang with.
I ain't never had nobody show me all the things that you done show me in a special way. I feel when you hold me, we gon' always be together, baby. That's what she told me, and I believe it. 'Cause I ain't never had nobody do me like you. Hit the mall, pop tags, spend a few G's in. Hit the runway to a new season. See, it ain't nothing. Good ones, good ones.
All right, and then we're into the next track. All right, let's just go back to the start of that mix and I'll just make a few pointers what I've noticed. All right, so the first thing again is they press play 4 beats too late out of phrase. So this tells me that I'm not sure if this person, Thomas St. James, is aware of the 32 beat structure of a track and sticking with that structure. So they're definitely aware of 4 beats and 8 beats, but not the 32 beat structure that I like to teach my students to stick to, because that is where the changes happen in a track and it's probably the best one to base your mixing on. They're also setting an 8 beat loop, which again is fine, just like I showed you in my mix that I did. You can still do that with the timing, and I think that 8 beats is the highest loop value you can set on Serato. Again, for me, I might have used a 16 beat loop, but I think actually with this track, I would use an 8 beat loop, and I'll explain why when I show you how I would mix it. So let me count you in and let's just show you how he is 4 beats late on pressing play here. I'll start counting the start of a new phrase. I think it's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So you see how he pressed play then 4 beats too late. Now because it's an 8 beat loop, it's going to be out of time. If it's a 4 beat loop, again, it wouldn't matter, but it is just slightly 4 beats out of time. That would just disrupt the flow of the mix and sound a little bit off to the audience. Now that's the same with the end of the mix as well. He didn't get out of the track before the next verse starts. So the next verse starts and then he does the mix halfway through the verse, and that will just throw the audience off a bit as well.
Always be together, baby. That's what she told me, and I believe it. 'Cause I ain't never had nobody do me like
There. This right just here now is the start of a new phrase again, and you can see that we're halfway through the loop, so it's not in time.
And every time I think about you,
There, you can hear that next verse start. Now I think we're doing a few more tweaks again on the mid dials as well.
when you ride, when you call, when you come
Can't really see with the hands. But yeah, we've just got that mid dial turned ever so slightly. It's going to be inaudible and won't make much of a difference and not necessary. But the low frequency equalizer dial is down on the track bringing in next. Absolutely brilliant. That's what we like to see, and a clean swap between them two.
It's amazing to me. I can't wait till I see you. I wanna be with you again. And every
Now it does that a couple of times, just a little tweak on the filter dial. Again, it's unnecessary. The small little tweaks aren't going to make that much difference. It's nice and fun to do, and some DJs, I do get a bit twitchy and you want to touch dials and things, but it's not going to make that much difference to your DJ set. If anything, focus on the big things that will make the most difference, like timing is the main one. Make sure that's absolutely perfect first before you start tweaking the EQ dials and filter dials. That's what I would say.
time you're out on the road, I'll make a trip. And whenever I'm doing a show, don't you forget that I'm your main chick. Who got the game chick? One and the same chick, the one you can hang with.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There, we can hear the next verse start and we've just exited the loop. So you hear me count along then. I did 16 beats. Sometimes choruses are 16 beats long, but my main point is the next phrase has started, which is the verse, and then we start to do our mix. So that's in the middle of the rapper or singer, whoever, in the middle of the verse, and it goes into the next one. If you're familiar with the song, it's just not going to sound too great. And again, on the track we just mixed out of, there's a slight little tweak on the mids. I'm not going to hear it, and a slight little tweak on the filter dials. Again, inaudible, not going to make a difference, especially when the timing's incorrect. That's the main thing that's going to throw the audience off, and the main thing that they're going to notice when they're dancing, not the slight tweak on the mid. They did try and put a little bit of echo on at the end of the mix, which is good. But now let's dive into my DJ software and I'll show you exactly how I would time this mix and what I would do. Alright, so we've got the track Like You on the right hand side, so let's have a listen to where I think they mixed this out. Alright, this sounds like one of the choruses. I think it's around here. If he starts rapping after this, I think this is the point. Nah, female. Right, I think it might be the next one. After this one, maybe? Right, we'll use that one there. Now, you can hear the chorus repeating itself, though. That's how you recognize the chorus, and it goes into the next verse. Let's wind that back. So again, we're going to set a hot cue here. This is where we need to be mixed out by. In my courses, I like to call this the significant hot cue. Then what we're going to do is change it to beat jump back 32 beats, and this is going to be our timing hot cue. Now, even though it's not necessarily at the start of a chorus, it's still going to be just where we're going to start our mix, start our transition, and then we have 32 beats, which is a good time frame to do your mix, and then be out by hot cue D into the next track fully. So this is personally how I'd set my hot cues up here. All right, let's get the next track up on the left-hand side, which is called After Party. Let's put this EQ dial back up. Let's have a listen to the start of this. All right, not the best probably to mix with, but we'll make do. All right, into them vocals. All right, so I'm going to wind this back, set a hot cue just here, and this is where we want to be mixed in by. So ideally, our timing here is going to look like this. For a perfect mix, is here. Just as this track's chorus ends, we're going to mix out into the next track's vocals. Now again, how we do that timing, there's multiple different ways. Now, he set an 8-beat loop at the start of this track, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, the reason why I wouldn't set a 16-beat loop at the start of this track, I'll just show you actually, is if I set a 16-beat loop here, even though it's just before the vocals come in, you can hear the vocals start. This would throw the audience off. You can even see it on the waveform here. So 1 beat before the vocals start. Now this is something to be aware of with your loops. So it doesn't make a full complete loop. Listen. And that would throw the audience off. So that is why in this circumstance, I would use an 8-beat loop. So when this keeps looping, it sounds okay. So we can use that to mix in with. I'm going to save that in my hot cue bank, and I'll start this loop at hot cue C. I'll have 32 beats to do the mix and transition, and then when hot cue B and hot cue D line up, which would look like this coming up on my DJ software, on the right, I would exit the loop and fully transition over to the next track with an echo. Again, I'm only using the low EQ dials here, but there isn't any low frequencies on the track we're mixing in, so you don't want to do a complete bass swap. You can see that because on the track we're mixing in, it doesn't have any red frequencies, doesn't have any red in the waveform. And when you're using RGB waveforms like this, it's the red color that is actually the low frequencies. So we just need to be careful of how we're going to manipulate that. If anything, I'm probably going to keep this low frequency dial up because we don't actually have any low frequencies there, so it makes not really much difference. But just before I do the transition, I am going to turn the low frequency equalizer down slightly on the track I'm mixing out of just before I apply the echo. All right, so watch this mix. This is exactly how I would do it.
Your love is amazing to me. I can't wait till I see you. I wanna be with you again. And every time you're out on the road, I'll make a trip. And whenever I'm doing a show, don't you forget that I'm your main chick who got the cane chick one and the same chick, the one you can hang with.
I ain't never had nobody show me all the things that you can show me. In a special way I feel when you're homie. We gon' always be together, baby. That's what she told me, and I won't be, and I won't be, and I won't be, and I won't be.
Okay, I pull up, hop out at the after party. You and all your friends here, they love to get naughty.
Alright, so that is personally how I would do that mix and transition from the track on the right, Like You, into the track on the left, After Party. Now, to make sure there's room for them vocals coming in first on the track After Party, because they start one beat earlier, you do have to echo out of the track Like You a little bit earlier. Now, another way we can actually do this to create some anticipation and to get that track going closer to silence and then this next track coming in with more impact is actually to do it 8 beats later. That way, we can echo out of the track a little bit later here, just as Hot QD comes in, and the timing would actually look like this. So then we'll have 8 beats from the verse starting, but I'm going to echo out before it gets to this point, and that'll have some time to tail off. It'll go a little bit quiet in the club or bar, wherever you're DJing, but that'll mean that this next track comes in with a lot more impact. And if that's the desired outcome that you want, this is the way I would suggest doing it. Which sounds better? I don't know. You'd have to try and test this out yourself, and whichever suits you best for the environment you're DJing in. But that would sound like this, so you can be the judge.
Same chick, one and the same chick, the one you can hang with.
I ain't never had nobody show me all the things that you can show me. In a special way I feel when you're homie. We gon' always be together, baby. That's what she told me, and I believe it. 'Cause I ain't never had nobody do me like,
Okay, I pull up, hop out at the after party. You and all your friends here, they love to get naughty.
So you can hear then the next track has a little bit more room to breathe and come in with a bit more impact because of that echo going down a little bit quieter and giving that track more space to then come in with that bass line and vocals. But the key thing I was doing there is not letting the next track's verse start so the audience don't expect that to come in. I'm stopping it before that verse starts, echoing out, then letting the next track come in with full volume. Alright, so just to summarize on the main tips that I would say to work on taken away from this video is to find where the end of the chorus is on the track you want to mix out of, just like this, set a hot cue, and then just make sure you mixed out by that point before the next verse starts. And also to do that on the track you're mixing in next, just find where the vocals start on that track, set a hot cue just like I've done here, and then just do however you want to do your timing to make sure that when the track you're mixing out of chorus ends, the next track's vocals begin. There's multiple different ways that you can do that timing and multiple ways you can mix the tracks. And like I said, I go through all of them in my online DJ course. If you do want to learn them, check them out in the link below this video. One thing I noticed on Thomas St. James's video is he actually doesn't have many hot cues set up. So if you don't have any hot cues set up, you're actually not using them effectively. They're not just for jumping to certain parts of tracks and to save your loops. I mainly use them as visual markers to let me know what's happening in the track at that point and to give me information. This is why when I planned and prepared all my tracks, I don't even need to know the tracks off by heart. I just drag them up and I'll know straight away where the ideal points are to mix out and mix in the track just by understanding my hot cue system that I put on the tracks. So that would be the main thing I would say take away from this is don't worry about your mids, your filter dials and all that. Just use the low EQs. Just stick to one EQ dial for now, which is going to give you the biggest result and biggest difference on your mix, which are the low EQs. Channel faders, that will do, in my opinion, 95% of the mixing that you need is the channel faders and the low EQs. And then just work on your timing. Timing is key. That's what's going to keep the momentum going most on the dance floor is a really well-timed mix. Now, I have actually done a video where I commentate on one of my live DJ sets where I DJ hip hop and R&B to a live crowd. And I use these exact techniques and principles that I'm showing you right now in this video. So if you want to watch a video where I apply these live and you can see how it works, then check out this video here where you can watch the live commentary of me DJing to a live audience whilst mixing hip hop and R&B tracks. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you again in the future. Bye for now.